Hi, and welcome to another episode of Spiritually Depraved and Misery-Inducing Landscapes of North America. I'm today's host, Daniel Dukakis. I have 30 years of experience as a landscaping and horticultural technician. I also worked at the Pixley Botanical Gardens until I got fired for sleazing on young women. Let's go look at one of our most recent installations. Now you can see we have made it look orderly, right? We're not trying to do this rewilding that's all the craze right now, natives and all that. It's nonsense, okay? We're trying to make it look uniform and controlled and very safe. We want to create a safe and inviting landscape that welcomes members of the square community in here so that they can further feel a sense of a spiritual breaking and be treated like the good little peons that they are. Let's keep going. Now, as you can see, we've had our landscapers, because I don't actually do any of the work myself, I just do the designs. I get paid far too much to actually come out here and sweating. But we have the underpaid Guatemalans come in here and put this array, this spread of pine needles, and you can see they've been instructed to keep it in a line, to make it feel very safe. Over here we've got one of our wonderful selections of Burford holly. You can see it is from Eurasia, which means it's a superior plant, and it creates this wonderful architecture, fastigiate growth that I like. I think it looks very orderly. We've got a cypress over there, Arizona cypress. It looks a little messy, to be honest. We might have to have Eduardo come in here and remove that, because I don't think it's going to really keep with the taste of this selection, this design. I didn't put that in there, right? When I put this design plan together, I had a very specific list of species, and I made the mistake of giving a little bit too much leeway to some of the landscapers at the lot, because we ran out of Burford hollies, and so I said use whatever, and they unfortunately made an inferior selection. But it's all right. We can be amended. We still have a contract to maintain this space. It's about $90,000 a year. Let's keep going. Now, this is one of my favorite selections. Now, it looks terrible, and I like that because that also gives me job security. It means I'm going to have to keep coming back to continuously replant things in this area that apparently doesn't drain very well. That's why we put the tube in the ground over there. But I also like the sense of spiritual futility that this plant provides anyone who happens to be passing by. I like that. I like making people feel small. And don't you even dare think of going for a walk in the woods here. As you can see, the owner, and I'm quite close friends with them, our families used to attend the same cotillion dinners when we were in high school. The owners, the Dinkelsteins, have erected private property, no trespassing signs throughout the perimeter. Yes, this is the Williams house. This is their summer home. You could see the lawn looks lovely. I like it when they have those lines in it that go back and forth that look like different colors, different tones of green. Very much so giving a sense of order. As you can see, we're here at a new housing tract that just went in. Now, we are hoping to bid on the contract here, and my cousin is actually in charge of one of the developments. He works for the local town council, and so I have a feeling I'm going to get it. As you can see, we have a wonderful treeless expanse here, a brand new playground with not a single shade structure nor tree. I'm sure the kiddies will love roasting in the sun like little plump hot dogs, won't they? Yes. Now, this does look like a thoroughly depressing place to live. As you can see, they didn't leave a single tree standing. I wonder if the loan that the company that built this fell through or something, because these houses should be in a much more further along state than they are right now. But either way, I'm sure this will definitely necessitate a prescription to psychotropic drugs or some sort of SSRI to maintain life here as if everything is normal and okay. This does look like a wonderful neighborhood to commit suicide in. I have to say, if I was going to pick a spot, it would be right in my front lawn. Yes, this is one of our actually older installations. We installed this about 7 years ago, and as you can see, we've really improved on some of the plants. Now, these were choice selections of cultivars to begin with. We've got the crepe myrtles. We've got some ornamental roses, as well as some yellow chlorotic conifers, but we've really done a great job both with placement and with hedging as well. Let's go check them out. Oh, this is lovely. I do love returning to this site. You could see the ornamental roses look stunning as ever. Absolutely fantastic. Hedgings to look like a butt plug right here. Also a wonderful choice. Now you can see we've taken a crepe myrtle, which is kind of a terrible plant already. It really just makes you feel devoid of any will to live. And we've made it somehow worse. I don't know how we did that. I'll have to speak to Eduardo. Hopefully he doesn't try and take my credit for that. Let's keep moving along. Looking down here, we've got, I forget exactly what this was. Some sort of juniper, but as you could see, it was a sickly mutant, and it was one of our selections from the greenhouses. And so we actually took this because though it is sick, the yellow color makes it more attractive. It really draws the eye in. And so especially when you've got 9 of the same clone planted in uniform lines throughout the entire landscape installation, it really doesn't allow for any room for creativity whatsoever, right? You could nary a pine needle out of sorts down there. I love it. Look at the smooth bark of the crepes too. Absolutely fantastic. This definitely makes anyone who's passing by feel like they're just a cog in a machine and life is worthless, and that makes me feel good. I'm happy that I was able to do that for them. Oh no, is that a rose dying? I'm probably going to have Eduardo come here and rip this out, and we'll put a new one in. Remember, they are all the exact same phenotype. They're all the same clone. So I am a little bit concerned that because this is dying, whatever's afflicting these might be afflicting those later on. So it's very important that we get this removed. Now, I must say, I love this fairground-style heat island that they have here, too. That's someone's backyard, just roasting in the sun for 6 months out of the year. Fantastic. Oh, yes, I love this. This is a fantastic selection. It's an invasive species, heavily invasive in the surrounding woodlands, known as burning bush. Really creative name there. I do love it. I wish I'd come up with that myself. Euonymus is the genus Celestraces, the family, and it's from Eurasia. And it's readily invading eastern woodlands throughout North America, but it looks stunning in the fall when the leaves change to a red color. I love it. Fantastic. Now this is a great example of one of my favorite scams to run on unsuspecting businesses and homeowners. You can see we've got dying trees, ball and burlap, planted in a mulch volcano using dyed black mulch too, which actually makes it hotter. That's a terrible idea, but it does ensure that the tree will die. Now, as you can see over here, of course it's better to plant trees when they're smaller and then just protect them with a few bamboo stakes. Costs a lot cheaper too, maybe $20 max, because trees like to get established, get those deep taproots in the ground. Now, these being ball and burlap trees have actually been ripped out of the ground at a tree farm, had their taproots severed, balled and burlapped, and they've been slowly dying ever since they were ripped out of the ground. This one's already succumbed. You can see it, but this costs a lot more money to install. We buy them at tree farms for about $100, $150, slap an extra $800 on the price, and then the whole planting itself, when all is said and done, labor included, costs roughly $1,200 per tree, and all the better when they die, which many of them actually will do. It actually makes me sad to see these trees actually surviving. I'm not sure what happened there. That's not the way it's supposed to go. It's a much better business model to sell large trees, because homeowners and businesses want overnight results. Who wants to wait for a tree to grow? Now, of course, if you planted a 3-foot tall oak seedling that came out of a 5 to 10 gallon container, it would probably catch up to a ball and burlap tree, assuming the ball and burlap tree survived in the first place. That is, if you planted them at the same time. But we don't want to let people know that this is a much better business model. Again, this easily costs $1,200 to $1,500 per tree when all is said and done, and you get the overnight results. Yes, that reveal that people are excited for. It looks much better. Yes. Now, another great scam we do is this aerating the lawn thing. It looks like a goose shit. But you basically come in here and you just rip these little plugs out, and it aerates the lawn. It also makes it much more likely that the lawn will be stressed and die, which also is a great business model. You can see we've also had to apply some nutrients. You can see those little green pellets to the lawn as well, both herbicides and fertilizer combinations. Again, works great, completely unnecessary, but it's a service you can provide and sell, and it ensures that you get to keep coming back after you've already made the landscape installation. Now, I know what you're saying. You're saying, Daniel, where are we? This is another installation you can see right here. This is in an industrial area. This is the headquarters, the corporate offices of a local company that does granite flooring. And this is a landscape installation I call Fondle My Balls. You can see Laura pedalum right here, Hamillidaceae, another horrific Eurasian plant, way overused in landscaping in the eastern seaboard. Of course, we're in North Carolina. It does great here. We've hedged it into little balls, which I do enjoy that. Because that's actually what I said to one of our young interns. I said, fondle my balls. And then she filed a lawsuit against me. Ooh, and this is fantastic too. Abelia caprifoliaceae. This was actually a choice selection of mine. You can see it's chlorotic and looks sick. We actually chose it because plants are, I mean, let's face it, plants are generally boring. And so to make them slightly more interesting, we like things like variegated leaves, which really would not survive in any kind of wild setting because it's a maladaptive evolutionary trait. It's a mutation, but here in landscaping it does look fantastic. I also like that these are half dead, so I know they'll have to be replaced in a year or two. And where do you think that contract's going to go? You can really appreciate these molar shapes to the hedges that we've put in. Again, the Abelias, caprifoliaceae, we've got the Laura pedalums, and of course, what would any depressing and misery-inducing situation be like without our friend Nandina domestica? Heavenly bamboo, as it's known, all right? A very invasive species in many areas of North America. And this one actually looks sick, which again is great. I mean, these chlorotic leaves of plants aren't supposed to have yellow leaves. That's not a beneficial adaptation, silly. This thing is dying, and hopefully when it dies, they'll call us back to just have us reinstall a new one. And this is actually one of my favorite contracts that we have. Very simple to maintain, and it looks very orderly. I especially like the sinking utility box in the middle of the parking lot right here. You can see right here we've got a number of golden euonymus. That's a very sickly looking plant, but it does draw interest in, because remember, plants are boring. We need variegated leaves. Wonderful gimmick to make them look interesting. Ooh, these are all the same clone, propagated via cloning in a nursery. You could see very easy to mass produce a large quantity of them that are all phenotypically the same. And the good thing too is that if one of them dies, they're probably all going to die. If there's some sort of pathogen that comes in here and afflicts these, so that means they'll all die. And then of course we will get the contract, because we obviously know what we're doing here. We will get the contract to come and reinstall another selection. And if the customer is really dumb, we'll just install the same thing over again, likely to have the same result, and they won't be none the wiser for it. And of course, we've got a giant heat island of asphalt. That surface temperature of that asphalt has to be well into the 140 degrees Fahrenheit range come 3 or 4 p.m. on a hot summer day. You can see it's May right now, and we're already in the upper 80s. Not as hot as I would like. We could make it more terrible, but it's hard with this golden euonymus. I mean, it's really hard to surpass this. This looks absolutely hideous. And as you can see, the spacing is near perfect. We've done a little zigzagging, okay, but still we're maintaining distances of exactly 3 feet between all of these clones. Wonderful job here. Really hammers you down, really makes you feel like dying. That's what we're hoping for. That's what we're getting paid to do. Oh, they did put in some native plants. That's somewhat infuriating. Eduardo must have done that. We'll have to have him spanked in our dungeon for doing that. But we do have these non-native horticultural atrocities. Some other ilex cultivar. Yes, I mean, it could be anything really. It's just foliage. It's just background scenery. And then just to add some accentuations up there, it looks like one of my favorite choices, these garbage petunias, to put in. It's really for more of the older crowd. They do love these. It's just a little bit of color to catch the corner of your eye, as well as some coleus. What would a depressing landscape be without some coleus? Escaped ornamental roses, lovely. The jewel in the crown of this nature preserve, whatever you may call it. Also with our friend kudzu. Did you know kudzu's a very useful plant? You can eat it. Did you know that? It's I love seeing walls of it taking over areas like this. They really they perk it up, because otherwise it's just, I mean, it's just a messy, it's very messy. It's very messy nature preserve. But these flowers are fantastic. Look at these wonderful pink roses. So happy that they were able to escape from someone's horticultural bed and invade the natural areas. Yes! yes, here we are along one of the many highways in this great state of North Carolina. These are daylilies, the genus Hemerocalis, and I'm so thankful to the Department of Highways and Transportation here in North Carolina, in this great state, for planting these everywhere there seems to be a highway ramp. I mean, they're great, they're good for erosion control, and they just look beautiful, right? They're really good for beating people over the head with. Isn't that lovely? You see them everywhere. We could have native plants, but they're messy, and they're kind of gross. They just don't have the allure. They don't look as clean and attractive as the daylilies do. See, the daylilies, you can see them everywhere. Isn't it lovely? Hemerocalis, again, is the genus in Asphodelaceae, the aloe family. Okay, and they're even better in the back. So we've got this line. I helped actually design this. All right, now it's not every day you get to design a phalanx of daylilies for the highway department, but I, Daniel Dukakis, have been afforded this privilege and quite a few times, actually. We normally do, again, commercial installations, but we will do things for the public good, too. And you can see there's quite a few daylilies here. We've got wonderful, wonderful spread of them with the crepe myrtles in the background, all evenly spaced in a line to really brutalize you with the sense that you don't matter. And that's what is important here. That's what we're really running home. This could be anywhere. It's completely devoid of context. None of these occurred on the continent, when the crepe myrtles or the daylilies, until the last few hundred years. They really give just a sense of just background scenery. You know, whatever the plant is, it doesn't matter. It's just there to look attractive, whatever that means. Completely subjective right there. And just kind of take up space. All right, that's great. Wonderful chips, too. We've got the pine chips. I'm very disappointed they didn't dye them, though. But in these crepe myrtles, I mean, nothing really screams at you that the only purpose of a plant is to just look attractive, shut up, and sit in the corner like good old crepe myrtles. I mean, just a lovely plant. Lovely. We've got wonderful cultivars, lots of choice selection, and I'm very proud of this. This is probably one of my, you know, at least in the public sector, one of my favorite installations that I've done. All right, some did die. They were all certainly linear, orchard style. Some have passed away, but many are still with us, as you can see. Anyways, I'm Daniel Dukakis, today's host for Spiritually Depraved and Misery-Inducing Landscapes of North America. Please check out my landscaping company, Visionary Innovations Landscaping Solutions. Doesn't that sound nice? Yes, it does. If I had a business card, I would put it up let's put it up on the screen anyways. Visionary Innovations Landscaping Solutions. We're based right here in North Carolina, right in the Raleigh-Durham area, but we will travel all throughout the eastern seaboard. No job is too small. We do public sector, private sector, residential. We're everywhere. And again, really love the daylilies. We're going to beat you over that. We are going to assault you with daylily. Yes. Thank you so much for watching. Until we catch you up next time, have a good day. Go fuck yourself. Bye.